Okay.
Cool. So far we have Megan in person, Alex, Jill, and Ellie online. Matt might not make us for the planning commission portion or join in before we head over to select board.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and open the meeting? We have 4 of us here. And so we'll call that to order. And our first item is public comment. Ruben, yes, a member of the public who's present right now. Would you like to comment on anything?
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think it's just a brief comment regarding, and I don't think that it's in your agenda for tonight, but it really is, there was a report to the, is it the school district of Champlain, Chittenden, which one's that? Champlain Valley School District, which was a commission report to, looking into the projection of the number of kids going to be coming into the school system. And so I think that the picture before was that there's a decline of students coming in, but based on that report and their projection is going to, the development that we're experiencing right now in town would affect Allenbrook, for example, and then those kids will go to Williston Central and in CVU. As a parent of 3 young kids, I can certainly feel the effects of development in the area, and some things gonna give. So the school system will be affected. All the other public infrastructures, parks, traffic. So the development it's going to have multiple impact on so many different levels. I just want to make sure that I believe the Planning Commission is aware of this, and I think my last bit for the night is, I've always advocated for a strong representation of the school district's voice in the development, because they are going to be one of the recipients of the many stakeholders in any development that's taking place in town. And that's true not only for Williston, but it's true for every town. So I'm advocating that they should be on the table, really directly engaged, and make sure that there is a smart and responsible planning ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing this comment in here. And you're right, we have often considered the impact of development on schools. Things have changed a little bit with the consolidation of the school district. So our ability to kind of communicate as effectively, I think, has maybe eroded a little bit. And we can certainly reach out to them. I would like to see the report that you mentioned. I think that would be helpful for us to understand. And I would just kind of reassure you too that 4 out of 7 of our members have children, in many of them in the school district. Actually, I shouldn't even speak for Ellie because I have no idea if you have children, but mine just graduated last year, so my youngest. So and Chapin has a grandchild in his household. So so I think of all the variations of the Planning Commission that I have encountered over my 12-year period of serving, this is the most parent heavy we've ever had, which is fantastic. And I think that does bring a level of awareness and consideration to, to hopefully to everything that we do. And so absolutely we would, I think we would really benefit from reviewing that report and considering some of the impacts of it. That said, I think at the same time, there are certainly ways that the adjustments can be made. My own younger daughter was in a mobile classroom at ABS in kindergarten, and those are gone now, in part because the sort of population was shrinking and growing. Hers was a particularly large class, the one that graduated last year. So, so there are some temporary tweaks that can be made, but I think the other thing to remember is that there are also benefits to having, a critical mass of, young people. It means that it's easier to expand services that are relevant and perhaps accommodate recreational opportunities and those kinds of things as well. So it could be also seen as an opportunity for us to do some really cool stuff. But thank you so much, Ruben, and I really appreciate that you're often the sole member of the public who comes along to our meeting. So we appreciate your presence. Does anyone else want to chime in on that?
Yeah.
Oh, Chapin, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I just wanted to say I've seen that report and the projections, which do sag back further out. It's for a mild increase and then a leveling off or slight decrease further out. But also, I didn't know if people are aware that the district is doing right now a facility analysis of Allenbrook School for where to add on and how to add on. That school was originally built with the idea that there'd be a reflection of what's on the east side of it, on the west side of the core services in the middle. And part of that review has said they'd have to expand the core services. They couldn't just add the reflection. But anyway, I apologize, Ruben, I came in while you were talking, but when I saw the numbers, I thought that was separate from the analysis I know was going on of Allenbrook School, but we are very attuned to what you're talking about. And one interesting fact is that what we are doing about form-based code is not changing at this point, is not changing our growth management process. I mean, it's not changing the calculation.
Thank you. Thanks, Chapin. Okay, any other comments before we go to minutes? Actually, on that note, Ruben, I believe you were here briefly at our Planning Commission section of the meeting last time. Is that correct?
That was probably before COVID, I think, or right.
Oh, no,
before
I
COVID.
meant, did you tune in just as you are tonight? Did you tune in 2 weeks ago tonight on Zoom?
Maybe the week before that. Maybe the meeting before that.
Meeting
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah, I
okay,
think.
okay, that's fine. Because I had a note in the minutes, because I couldn't remember if you had been here at our May 17th meeting. But okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so minutes of May 17th, did everyone have a chance to look at them?
Yeah, with the changes to the attendance and the note, there's just one note in there that says Chapin to fill in. I'm not sure what that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it was a sentence that got kind of chopped off but then it got picked up again later in the paragraph. So I wasn't sure if we maybe just needed to leave that. Do you have any comments, Chapin?
I felt as though the gist of the whole conversation was captured in the rest of those couple paragraphs. And so we could perhaps just
Okay.
just drop that part. Yeah.
Great.
I noticed that too. And I thought the whole overall thing was so good that I was not going to even mention it, but good.
Okay. Yeah. So any other changes noted? Obviously the minutes are very short because our meeting was very short before going over to the select board. So yeah, and you can delete the one that says did Ruben E join us? So I wasn't sure about the date. All right, any other comments, or do I have a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve is amended.
Yes, Alex. Second,
Second,
Chapin, thank you. All in favor of accepting the minutes, approving the minutes?
aye.
Okay, it looks unanimous. Thank you, everyone, except we don't have Kate here, so.
Mhm.
Hi, Shayla. Nice to see your smiling face. Okay. Let's see, so at this point, what we're going to turn to then is a little bit of a debrief, and do you want to kick this on?
Yep. So
Thank you, Emily.
we're on the select board agenda at 7:28 this evening, so probably about 7:20, 7:25 at the latest, we'll want to transition over. On May 3rd and May 17th, we had the first two informational sessions on the form-based code. They ran a little bit long, so we weren't able to get to the architectural standards, unfortunately, which is kind of the cherry on top. But maybe we'll have time this evening. Tonight's focus is to take testimony from stakeholders and developers whose properties will be the most affected in the code area. I want to call to your attention a few items on the agenda. So the former Essex Alliance Church property, now known as the Annex, which is the Snyder subdivision that's being proposed, has submitted an application for discretionary permit for the first phase of that project. And it might be an item of discussion this evening with the select board in terms of vesting. So Chris Snyder's main request is that this property be excluded from the form-based code district, and basically the existing standards for Taft Corners zoning district would remain. The question here has to do with vesting, because we know that a project of this size and scale and the number of years that it will build out over, that amendments will be made, and amendments that would impact its vesting. So today, under the current rules and under the proposed form-based code, there's some level of vesting of when a change is made to a project. You're no longer under the old rules, you have to meet the new standard. And keeping this property in the form-based code area would mean that it gets its first round of approvals under the current standards, but subsequent amendments might be subject to the form-based code. And that's something for the select board to consider this evening. There is a memo from Matt to the select board about this evening, primarily focusing on section 12 of their binders, which has the public testimony that we received during the planning commission process, and then some of the letters that we wrote in response. If you remember our summary video and the Mentimeter we did, where we went over some of those major topics that were presented. And the goal for tonight is that the select board does warn a public hearing. They are running up against a statutory deadline where if the hearing isn't warned, then it has to go back to the planning commission. Basically, more paperwork, more bureaucracy for the purpose of statute and not actually any functional change. So hopefully they'll warn a hearing tonight so that we can move into a hearing process, hear more from the public in the hearing process, and then get any feedback from them on any changes that they would like made. There are also our new letters to the select board from Jeff Davis of JL Davis Realty, as well as from Al Senecal of Allenbrook Development. And either a new letter from Chris Snyder or the same letter, but his request is still the same about where the form-based code district boundary is located.
Emily, I found on the select board agenda packet, the Senecal letter and the Taft Associates letter, but I didn't see anything from Chris Snyder on the select board agenda packet. Did I miss it?
I didn't see it either.
Is his original letter then?
I think, Chapin, it may have been posted to the May 3 or May 17 select board agendas, or it's the same letter that we put in section 12 of the binder.
Okay. Thanks.
You did you sent us the discretionary permit application in your email. So
A
that
link.
was. We had
Yes.
that, but not, I didn't see a new one. I didn't see a letter.
Yeah, I did not, I asked the town manager, I didn't see one on the website today either. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that might come out about this, but because we received a discretionary permit application for the annex project, I did make a determination with my zoning administrator hat on of the completeness of that application and discussed in my zoning administrator opinion what of the project I believed was complete and therefore vested in the current bylaws, along with a little bit of caution about when you have a permit that's running in a situation where it's vested under bylaws that have changed, you have a right to continue to pursue that permit under those bylaws as they were when your application was submitted and complete. But our bylaw contains some language about substantive change where it says if in the process of that you make a substantive change to your proposal, you find yourself subject to the bylaws that are in effect as of that date. So our bylaw is pretty tight about how little you can change something once you want to maintain your vesting. So I just sort of warned all the parties that that's part of the case, and happy to take the lead on the technical questions if it goes there tonight from the select board about what are the consequences of in or out for the project. But I would say of what Emily's got on the screen right now, about 75% of it is in that first phase that would be vested under the bylaws.
Any questions or other?
I just want to make sure I understood that. So you're saying 75% of what we see here would be vested under current bylaws, even if we chose not to. So if we chose to exempt this property like he's requesting, we'd only really be choosing to exempt 25% of it from being. Did I understand that correctly, or did I mishear?
Correct. If the project continues to proceed, meeting all of its permit deadlines, and if no substantial change is required or requested by the applicant. So, by way of example, Finney Crossing to the south is on its 25th amendment over about a 19-year permitting trajectory. Big projects do tend to change over time, and just by way of example, the section of our bylaw that talks about substantial change says things like if you change the number of bedrooms, that's a substantial change. If you change the number of parking spaces, that's a substantial change. So all of the elements that this project is vested in are fully designed and we think likely to be able to comply with the bylaws as they sit today. But I would say that it would be, if this project were to proceed under those current bylaws, that this project would not change any through the course of its development, would likely be a result of the applicant trying to maintain that vesting, because otherwise generally things this big tend to change a little bit over time.
It'll take a lot longer.
Or take longer, right? I mean, Cottonwood was shown to me when I interviewed for the job in 2008. Somebody said, here's this thing that's about to be built in Williston. What do you think of it? And that was about 10 years off. So, if pressed, my recommendation would probably be to leave this in the code area, just so that if things do start to really fundamentally change, there's an opportunity to bring it in under the code or some version of the code. One of the things that the applicant will vest in if they don't break that vesting is the road layout. And you know, if they take that road layout via an approved subdivision plat all the way through final plans, our council in the past has told us, you know, it's really hard to make somebody undo a road layout once it's been platted and recorded. So options will be limited on this almost no matter what the commission does. But I can't offer perfect predictions of the consequences of keeping it in or out, just advice of what I think might happen.
Chapin, go ahead, and then we need to transition.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it's unfortunate that Chris didn't adapt his plan more, if you know, to what we were doing. What, you know, he knows what we were proposing and is pretty much going standard old way, including fossil fuel heat and so forth. And I think just because the project may not go through as he's planning it and other things may change, and also the history of the shrinking green space at Finney Crossing, I would like to see this I'd like to see the amount of control we get by having the regulating plan be the default for this if his current permit falls through for any reason.
All right. Great, thank you, everyone. I think Emily put the Zoom link for the select board meeting into the chat. So if you would like to magically disappear and reappear, we will see you over at Town Hall in a few minutes. Thanks.
On the other side.
Eric just messaged me that they're all set, so.